This September, the EWG Scarlet Knights Alumni Association invites you to join us to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the founding of Exeter West Greenwich High School. In this video series, we'll chat with longtime faculty and staff to remember some stories you know, and maybe a few you haven't heard.
90 was pretty fun. I mean, I remember the first tour of the building I got was with Karen Pirtle and I had both been hired, and the principal said, "Well, come on over to the high school. I'll give you a tour." And we had to wear hard hats to walk around the building, and we were pretty excited. We were like, "This is going to be a sweet place," and it was like considered like this tech hub back then. It was considered like we had the most innovative technology. When this school was opening, there were articles in the Providence Journal all over the place. This brand new school, it's going to be beautiful, all these things. And everybody, I was living in Massachusetts, so I didn't see the articles. Everybody I knew was like, "You've got to write to this district, you've got to put your application in." And I thought, well, I'm going to take a different approach this time, I really want to work in that school. That's going to be the coolest thing ever. I said, I'm just going to keep calling them until they hire me. And that's what I did. I talked to the principal's secretary. The first principal was this guy, John Dezaki, and his secretary, her name was Robin Gianti. And I must have talked to her 15 times before they hired me. I was always just calling and calling and calling. "So, have they scheduled interviews yet? So, have they," and I just, eventually I wormed my way in. So. And I remember we went on strike the first year here. And that was kind of embarrassing, but I didn't know what I was doing. So of course I went on strike with everybody else. And there were a whole bunch of kids that were picketing across the street from the school, saying that 1,000 applied, hire them. Yeah, it was really awkward. It was like them and their parents being really angry that I don't even know what the dispute was. Now I'm the union president. I look back, I had no idea what we were even angry about, but I was like brand new. I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I had no idea what we were mad about. But yeah, that was a really rough beginning, that first moment. Yeah, the school wasn't finished. Yeah, we had half the building. It was called the DMZ zone, which in history, of course, is like the demilitarized zone. But here it was like something like, "Don't move by Zoglio," or something like that. I remember I taught in some room down in the basement of the junior high, and it was this little awful room. Like they gave me like the cruddiest little space for that first year, and it was awful. It was like a room designed for maybe 15 kids, and I had classes of like 30 in there. Things. I remember Mrs. Christian used to do this like science magic thing at Halloween time. She'd get all kids to help, and I remember bringing my niece and nephew. Yeah, there's almost no one left from those days. Larry Pirtle used to be here, and of course his wife Karen, who initially wasn't Pirtle when they were first here, but Larry used to make fun of me when I was pregnant. Yeah, he said all kinds of crazy things I shouldn't repeat, but they were funny as anything. While where Larry was actually acting vice principal here for a little bit. The kids who did come, even, not everybody was happy to be here. But we had these like 9th and 10th graders, but we were fielding varsity teams, So of course we were getting killed all over the place, everywhere. And I still remember coming to one of the boys' basketball games, and we had all these little boy legs hanging out the bottom of the shorts, all these spindly, hairless legs playing against these men from other schools. They didn't seem to care, but it was the funniest. I'll never forget that image of like these little boy twig legs playing against all these like big hairy guys, and it was just like, oh no, those poor kids are getting annihilated, And they did, but then we worked our way up, and it was fine. The way they designed the school, the teacher's lab is too far away from the classrooms, so teachers are always in the labs. Not because we want to. There is no lab for the teacher. You can't get from the classroom to the ladies' room and back, to the adult lab. That's why there's no smoking in our bathrooms. Teachers are in the labs every block. It's a flaw in the building, but what a great flaw. It had this great consequence where the building has been maintained. Kids don't vandalize, because we're around, and we have a great community. But I think it really has like tamped down on that. Well, when the Midnight Madness I never would do the all night because in those early years, I was pregnant or had a baby. Every one of the first 4 years this building was open. But I remember one of the coolest parts was the kids would make there was always a big t-shirt contest. And every year some crazy t-shirt would win, and then they'd print it up for all the kids, and it would be an awesome thing. I would show up at like 7 and stay till midnight, and then I would go home. And then other people, they were staying the whole night, and there were all kinds of activities going on. And yeah, I remember the volleyball contests and all. Oh my gosh, that was huge back then. Some kids would come in with bridges. You're like, an architect made that. Okay, you didn't make that, buddy. You know, like, come on now. This is mostly for high school kids. You know, they come in with this thing that you're like, no way. What does your father do? Yeah, he's an architect. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the graduations used to be out in the courtyard. I remember that very well. Crazy. Yeah, there were a few times I brought survivors in. One of the times I brought a survivor in to come speak didn't go that well, though. Like, the survivor was really kind of a very hate-filled person still. And I didn't know that. You know, I got his name from like the Holocaust Memorial Museum, and I know Ann Arvidsson got a few really prominent authors to come here and speak to the kids here. Like, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's been a great place to work. So it's been, you know, been a pretty good place to spend my career. I'll be here a bunch more years too. So.